Welcome. Welcome everyone to the channel. Normally on Tuesday nights, we call it JW Night Talk. Then we did the Thursday night. Thursday afternoon was a really good time. That's when we last did a live. And Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. our time, Joe and Fran have a show. Standing offer every Wednesday night. Come and see Joe and Fran. So we'll be hosting that for them. It's their show. And on that show, it enables a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, victims, ones that haven't had a chance to tell their story. And that's one of the most important things. That's what we found, is to be able to tell your story. And we're going to be looking at Norway tonight and looking at some of the stories in Norway. And there's some fabulous stories, fabulous write-ups, the newspaper, the support, the government, the state. They've really done a good job in Norway. We're going to look at Norway close. I was going to premiere this. I put together the day 10, the final summary of Norway, what happened in court. Now, the real court case, it's all in Norwegian, so we're still working on getting transcripts applied to the video. So my good wife is working on that. It takes a while, and YouTube might not be able to do it, but we're working on it. Sounds like it's coming through another source, and once that's available, it will be listed just under a playlist Norway. You'll be able to watch the whole court case with subtitles, and that's the whole idea, is to really see the lies that they told in court. And it's important for us as ex-JWs to see what's going on, and this is also important for the Jehovah's Witnesses. If they ever have a chance, click on one of these videos, and they're able to watch raw footage right from the court case, and they can see what their leaders are doing in court. This is what they're paying for. Well, that court case cost $450,000 US, that 10-day court case. $450,000 US. Now, they started to go to court against Norway in 2021. And these lawyers, it came out in court, the lawyers are charging $650 US an hour. So that's over 6,000 of the Norwegian dollars per hour is what they're charging. So all of that money is coming from somewhere. In fact, they went so far to set up this whole foreign, it's on the tip of my tongue. We talked about it in the last couple of videos, but Ben Elder, he's running the foreign worship, in Europe, where they, Tony Morris announced that. We're going to look at Tony Morris, freedom of worship, that whole new office they set up. And it's kind of like that office is lobbying all over Europe. It's lobbying to wherever it can get support. And that company is probably pulling in support maybe from other cults that want to be able to have freedoms to maybe have a compound and have the same, you can take those same rules and say, okay, well, you guys got to pay me a charity, even though I have an intolerant, compounded community that will kill themselves to follow our rules. Like, this really opens up a can of worms when you think about it, right? Remember, Tony Morris talked about a can of worms. By the way, thank you to everyone online tonight. We have a few new people online. I wanted to say thank you to for joining us. Where are we? Thanks Jennifer. You bought my coffee tonight. Appreciate that. JW discussions. Yes, I need a coffee. Well, I got one. Jennifer bought me one. Maybe she'll buy you one. You'll ask her. Vintage, he'll be back in 2 hours. Witness Underground, welcome to the show. And Lost Pod Files. Hello. Right on, buddy. I seen him. I'm coming down the list here. 60 Aquino. Good evening from Pennsylvania. 60 Aquino. And we got tier 5. Hello, tier 5. Glad. Hello. Can't wait for the verdict. I can't either. Joe and Fran. Yes, Joe and Fran's show will be on Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And they'll be there to talk to everyone. So who else do we have? Beverly. Hello, Beverly. And Mark's backpacking. Bike packing. Mark's bike packing. Now, do you have an electric bike or do you have a pedal bike? Yvonne is on with us. Hi, guys, from Scotland. And Nike is with us tonight. Do you have your Nike shoes? From Sweden. And we have Constantine. They really put the elders, that teenager behind her, at the witness chamber in Norway. They did. They certainly did. And we have Melissa Powell. Melissa. Sorry about that, Melissa. And we have Warren Graham. Greetings, Warren. And Heather Aick. Hello, Heather. And we have Lost Pod Files. I think it was. I think it was a pretty fair one. And where are we? Who's new? Matthew Whitney. Hello from Canada. Hello, Matthew. Which part of Canada? East or west? Oh, you don't have to give it away. And thank you, Seaman. Appreciate that. That's going to buy us a pound of coffee. And Jamie C. Well, I got to get back up there. Okay. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. You're buying us coffee for tomorrow. Thanks, bud. Okay. Now, should we get to it? 60 Aquino. Thank you. We appreciate that. My wife and I love what we're doing. She loves directing me, and I like doing it. It's a win-win. Okay, we're going to get after it.
Come on.
Thank you, everyone.
Let's get to it.
You see? Yeah, that's what's going on. Okay. I want to show you guys something. I'm going to blow this up. Now, before I show you this, the fair thing is, let's look at where it came from. Now, I oftentimes on my channel, I like to advertise channels that are out there, other ones, besides the main people, like the Lloyd Evans, the bigger channels that are out there and they're really growing. I like to advertise the smaller channels, the newer ones that are just starting to grow. Here's a channel, Exposing Jehovah's Witness Cult. They have 269 videos, 523 subscribers. And we need 1,000. Any creator needs 1,000 subscribers to really start launching their channel. So we like to help these ones. They put together a good video. I like this one because I wasn't around, actually. I didn't wake up yet when they did this one. And it's only a 3-minute video. We're going to watch the whole thing. So I'm going to get off the screen. But you remember the maggots, and I put that on the thumbnail. And it didn't even dawn on me that I forgot about this, how they called the apostates the maggots, and then they blew the smoke out. But then Tony Morris was the first one to go. He blew the smoke out on us, and then he disappeared. So I don't know how that works. But anyways, the maggots we're talking about the maggots. We're going to talk about that some more. Let's listen to Tony just for a bit. Good old Tony. We miss him. We miss him, but we'll never forget him. So here he is.
fire would be a suitable means of eliminating such refuse. Now, this point, what the fire did not consume, the maggots would. Now, I don't know if you know much about maggots, but you see a whole bunch of them. It's just not a pleasant sight. But what a fitting picture of the final end of all of God's enemies. Sobering, yet something we look forward to. However, the apostates and the enemies of Jehovah would say, well, that's gruesome. That's despicable. You teach your people these things? No, God teaches his people these things. This is what he's foretelling. And frankly, for friends of Jehovah God, how reassuring that they're finally going to be gone. All these despicable enemies that have just reproached Jehovah's name, destroyed, never, ever to live again. Now, it's not that we rejoice in someone's death, but when it comes to God's enemies, finally, they're out of the way, especially these despicable apostates who at one point had dedicated their life to God, and then they joined forces with Satan, the devil, the chief apostate of all time. So while we eagerly await Jehovah's bringing his enemies to the end, very sobering point from James chapter 4 that you'll remember. Let's find James and what he writes here. James chapter 4. And James, of course, Jehovah used him and inspired him, but always nice and direct. You don't read James and go away saying, I wonder what he meant by that. It's very clear. Verse 4, adulteresses, do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Whoever, therefore, wants to be a friend of the world is making himself an enemy of God. So, what a clear warning. We don't want to have any friendship, whether socially or on social networks, with Jehovah's enemies. We're not friends of the world. We're Jehovah's friends. We're looking at him as our closest and most precious friend. And we never would want Jehovah to view us as an enemy. So, in conclusion, let's go back to that opening psalm that we looked at here, just to help this verse stay in your mind, we hope. Verse 20, just to emphasize this, but the wicked will perish, the enemies of Jehovah will vanish like glorious pastures, particularly they will vanish like smoke. So I thought this would be a nice memory aid to this verse stay in the mind. Here's what Jehovah's promising. That's Jehovah's enemies. They're going to vanish like smoke.
Could you imagine? This is what it's good that we have that on our channel. It's good that we have it on this Norway channel, because they went to court and they said, well, we don't teach our children stuff like that. We don't teach them that people are evil, but yet the court, they come to the table and they said, oh, we're looking through your stuff and it's horrible. Look at the videos they played. They didn't even play this one. But this is what they teach. They didn't retract the video. So, they got rid of the guy that said it. It doesn't mean anything. It's still the video's the video. Okay, the next video we're going to go to is we're actually going to go to the court. And I'm thinking that's up. Yep. Where are we? Here we go. We're going to go to court here. And I don't need to be in the courtroom for this. So this is this is a 20-minute video. I was going to do it. It will be released at the end of this show as its own standalone video. But I'm going to play it here. It's 20 minutes. We're talking all about the court case, day 10. And I just did it in my studio. I'm out here on the deck right now. Sun's out. I'm going to actually have another coffee. I'm going to go make another coffee because who was it? We got a couple of coffees bought tonight. So thank you guys. Thank you very much. And here's the video. Here's the video. It's coming. There we go. Got to turn my mic on. Yeah. Okay. Day number 10. And what do we have on the thumbnail there? We have JW.org, and we have a open can of maggots. Now, have you ever had that happen to you? You know, where you went to open something and it's all full of maggots? It can happen. Now, one of the things that we want to be careful about is buying dented cans. You see, sometimes cans get knocked off a shelf, they get dented, and they get pinholes in them. And we can't see the pinholes with the naked eye, but those pinholes allow this.
We live in a world full of media streams, social platforms, and devices.
This to happen. And this is what's happened within Jehovah's Witness religion. It's got pinholes, it's got knocked off the shelf, gets dented. It got dented when Rutherford took over. He changed everything from what Russell did, the founder, Russell. They believed in Christmas. You know, they didn't shun like they do now. And then it gets dented again. Norway was another president that took over and started this whole blood campaign. Another big dent. So you get all these holes in the can, and pretty soon you got a can of maggots. And that's what's happening within the organization today. You open up that can and, oh, we don't know what's in it. You see, up until now, the can has been left on the shelf, closed. The lid's closed. No one's been able to open the lid. And in Norway, they've demonstrated in Norway that there's more inside this religion than meets the eye. They cannot just simply stand there and hide behind freedom of religion. And then behind the freedom of the religion, they do all kinds of intolerance towards others. You see the judges and the courts are opening up the can. And what may happen here, what could happen in this trial, the verdict is going to be out in about 4 weeks or so. We'll keep you posted on that when the news comes out. But whatever happens, they can appeal it, and they can try to appeal it in a European court because all these other lands, they're saying that Jehovah's Witnesses are a good charity religion in the European Union. So this could open a can up, and then this could open up further investigation. And then all of these other countries start opening the can up in their country and finding out, holy smokes, it's a dented can. It has holes in it, and it is full of maggots. So let's see what this trial pulls out, and we'll get right after it here. We're a summary of day 10 into the trial here. We are January 19th. That's when this day was held. Jehovah's Witnesses versus Norway. The state attorney is Liv Inger Jon Gabrielsen. And Watchtower's attorney is Rizdil. They give their closing arguments. Okay. It is the final day. I'll just switch my screen here. Okay, first of all, we'd like to thank Avoid JW for this news article. I'll post a link in the descriptions below, as always. So we're going to get right into the article. It is the final day of this strenuous yet enlightening trial. Day 10, January 19th, 2024. The trial is coming to an end with their closing arguments, and we will hear the final verdict in about 4 weeks, as I summarized 4 reminders on who is who. Risdell is a Jehovah's Witness lawyer, and Gabrielson is Norway's state lawyer. She's referred to as Liz, or Liv. Gabrielson points out strict rules of organization. She says, according to Ben Elder, a Jehovah's Witness who testified the previous day, the organization sees increasing activity among so-called anti-cult organizations in Europe. According to Elder, these are organizations that have been created with the purpose of attacking religious minorities by claiming that they are second-rate religions and harmful to society. The same rhetoric is repeated in every country with the same wording, Vartland News. Gabrielson starts by ripping apart the jumbled and ever-changing denial of the organization's practice of shunning, saying that the exceptions regarding special incidents allow contact doesn't mean there is no shunning. She emphasizes the heavy burden on those who leave and how the right to leave the religion freely is breached. She then points out how anyone especially recognized in the LGBTQ community has even worse consequences when it comes to their family. The Jehovah's Witness organization is strictly against the LGBTQ organization. If you want to be deemed worthy enough for baptism as a member, you are not allowed to pursue any feelings of the opposite sex, nor identify as other. Risdell, Watchtower's lawyer, seems distraught today, attempting to speak minor details, seemingly trying to get the state to calm down the line of statements they are making. The abuse of children. Gabrielson explains how there is a fear for the kids being raised and taught, and these teachings based on the disciplinary actions of a judicial committed, marking, being disfellowshipped, and how everyone outside the organization is labeled worldly or bad associations, and are taught by publications, videos, etc., on how not to associate with them. And that's exactly the way it is. Former testimonies are brought up expressing their pain. Left, we see Risdell, JW lawyer, left.
Your life is going to change now. I'm Elon Musk, CEO and founder of Tesla and SpaceX. I've been waiting for you. This is your lucky day. I don't know how you ended up on this page, but you won't regret it. I have sent an invitation to this.
And right is Jan Nilsson, former JW and politician, testified in court. Gabrielson highlights the previous testimonies of the former Jehovah's Witnesses on how shunning disfellowshipping process affected them even as minors. And this is because a judicial process, a judgment on a sin the local elders based on their view needs disciplinary action, is very stressful and traumatizing for minors and adults. Several of the former Jehovah's Witnesses talked about this happening before 18 years of age. According to the law, spreading information, marking, harsh judgment, avoiding throughout the congregation is abuse. Good law. The isolation. Connection to the family is a basic need for any child's mental health. Isolation of minors hurts their mental development and connections that need to be built up through a secure environment. Even being reproved, which is a private or public disciplinary action that can happen to you in the congregation, no matter the age after baptism, creates a wall of judgment and separation from the rest of the congregation, meaning the minor may be avoided or treated differently by their friends and family, just for actually being involved in this elders meeting. After baptism, the threat of losing this connection can deeply affect a child's development. Like the fear of being ostracized for slipping up, maybe doing something at school. It's hard to say. Maybe even getting involved. Let's say you're in school and maybe you wanted to sit in the classroom and participate in a little bit of the Christmas, because of baby Jesus. That's part of the Bible scene, right? It's in the classroom. And you could justify that yourself, but it got back to the elders. You're baptized. They would classify you as having a part of idolatry. That's a fact. It's in the elders' book. Now, the Norway attorneys in a closing argument. The Norwegian law says that all religions must be supported equally. This is what Risdale intends to agree with regarding the funding they have lost $5 million US. Yet the state argues that this just means all religions must have an equal right to apply. And there's a possibility of them being unapproved if they don't follow the terms. It's quite simple. The state shows that there's nothing in the Constitution that says there can be no terms at all for funding. The intention, it seems, has always been to set some terms for taxpayers' payout. The state has room for considering how the funding shall be organized, and it has to be the same for all religions. They can't have different terms for Christian groups than Muslim groups, etc. This means that equal treatment is secured by the fact that all religions have to meet the same terms. And you see, folks, if they laxed for Jehovah's Witnesses, then all of a sudden there's other cults that are going to start up. They'll be shunning, they'll be forming little compounds, they'll be segregating, and they'll say, well, no, you're allowing Jehovah's Witnesses to do it, why can't we do it and get charity money as well? You see, so the state has rules, and Jehovah's Witness religion did not pass the driver's test, so it didn't get the status, the charity status. They can still practice, they can still go to meetings, and rightfully they should have to pay taxes on those buildings. They shouldn't have any tax exemptions at all, the Jehovah's Witnesses, because they don't measure up. They don't pass the test. It's quite simple. Now, this does not mean that all religions can ignore the rules and demands and still get their money. Gabrielson starts to seem irritated at Risdale's interruptions and minor details. So she has to stop her argument. And she not once interrupted them. She allowed them a whole day and a half to get up there and spell out lies. And she just sat there and took it. Never butted in. But now she's telling the truth, and the Jehovah's Witness lawyer is poking.
It's Black Friday, and ContentCreator.com is hosting its biggest sale ever. If you want to learn how to shoot and edit professional,
that's what they do in court. They then go through the ECHR verdicts JW versus Risdale have used and how they are irrelevant to the case. All the Jehovah's Witnesses side and state agree that you cannot exercise pressure to force someone to change a religion. But can you then be allowed to use extensive force to exercise pressure to stop someone from leaving the religion? Aha, you see, it's a double-edged sword. You see, the Jehovah's Witnesses want the cake and the icing. You can't have both. People have to have freedom of will to come in, or else you wouldn't get new people coming in, right? And likewise, people have to have the freedom to leave. And maybe they want to try out different religions, try out the Catholics, try out the Mormons, try out the Muslims. Maybe they're spiritual. They want to search around a little bit. People should not be shunned within a community by any of the religions for wanting to do that, wanting to explore. You see, that's part of growing, learning, and getting more knowledge. Okay, we move on. Gabrielson talks about the freedom of parents regarding what they choose for their child, which will always at some point have to be put up against a child's right to protection and integrity when those go up against each other, like blood transfusions. How can you decide for that child to lose that child's life over some doctrine that the cult has? Doesn't make sense. As a source, Jan Nielsen stated regarding the child's right to protection, your right to swing your fist freely will always have to be considered against my nose, right not to be broken. Yeah, a good statement, makes a point. Now, the closing arguments. The state says that JW is free to decide the membership rules. They are free to deny LGBTQ, deny those who disagree to be members, and deny people to vote, who vote. They are free to create their own rules. Not an issue here. It's not an issue. They can do all of that. You see, it's not like Russia. Russia, you can't do that. They can't go door to door. They can't talk about it. But in Norway, you can do all those things. Here's the point. The point, though, is to let people live and leave freely. Let them live and leave freely. That's it. You see, Jehovah's Witnesses are trying to be like Russia within their religion. They're trying to hold everyone to their constraints. And I may be out of turn in saying that. Russia, I think, maybe would be, I don't even want to get into the political element of it, because what do I know? I'm an ex-JW. I know nothing of politics, and I should know something about politics. We should be free to do that without being judged by the religion. Now, the point is they cannot just do whatever they want. People can't. The organization cannot have these strict rules and at the same time punish harshly to those who don't want to live under those strict rules. That's the point. There are also rules on how a religion can apply pressure and force against its members. And improper action and undue influence are not allowed. Lots of ECHR verdicts, European verdicts, so they pulled out a lot of that, are related to this. Regarding matrimonial privilege, their religion ceremony is not broken. It is only the legal aspect of the matrimony that has to be adjusted, and that is the state's right to set those rules for legally handling it. Okay. Jan Nelson, former Jehovah's Witness, expresses his opinion on the closing argument of the trial. Here it is. He says, for myself and other ex-witnesses, it is not primarily about winning in court, says Jan Nelson. Whether Jehovah's Witnesses lose state support is a trivial matter. Many of those who have testified in court have never told their story that way before, he says. That this is in itself has had a great significance. And he also says that he and other ex-witnesses have found it strange to hear how Jehovah's Witnesses present themselves as a vulnerable minority. I found that very strange. Because on an individual level, we are the ones who have been the minority. Individuals in the face of a worldwide organization that has billions on its books and millions of members. Yeah. Nilsson also says that he thinks the government lawyer has done a good job. And according to him, they have remained calm and resisted what he sees as a strategy of obfuscating. Obfuscating? I'm going to look that word up. Okay, good old Google. Obfuscate. Obfuscate. I don't use that word much, but it says to render obscure, unclear, or unintelligible. The spelling changes will deform some familiar words. Now, obfuscate their, there's another word, their origins. Bewilder someone. There you got it. The JWs like to bewilder. Then they throw all of this Satan. Oh, the Bible says, the Bible says, the Bible says. But their Bible isn't complete. It has so many errors. We have that on lots of videos. Now, good word. According to him, according to Jan, they have remained calm. The lawyers, the state's lawyers, they resisted what seems as a strategy of obfuscating or confusing people, and confusing by highlighting irrelevant points and examples. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses want to angle this as a matter of religious persecution. That's what they're doing here. There, I feel that the lawyers have been good at saying, relax, it's not about that. It's about a state support scheme. So Vartland article done in court, Jehovah's Witnesses want to frame this as a case of religious persecution. Links to the article are here, and that could be another article that we will run at another date. So that brings an end to today. Today we have It's been an inspiring day. And we see that the can of maggots got opened, and that's good. That has to happen in court. It has to happen somewhere. It has to start somewhere where they actually grab that thing and open the lid, look at the Elder's Book, and really see what's going on in that religion. So thanks again, folks. And remember, in this video, put as many comments as you can regarding children being shunned. Children being shunned. If you've had children being shunned or you were a part of that scheme, I know I was. My children were shunned because they were disfellowshipped. And it's really hard on them psychologically, hard on them to this very day. And I don't think they've even began to undo some of this stuff. So folks, this is just the start of it, but the more we put comments in, the more we show the world that this is not an isolated case, as Risdell, the lawyer, the JW lawyer, and Ben Elder has lied in court over and over again. They've lied, and said this is just a few activists. This is no big deal. We're the victims. You see, they're trying to make themselves the victims. Folks, by you guys putting comments in, it shows that there's victims all over the world. So thanks again. You've been a great audience. And remember, keep living your life with love. Bye for now. There, my mic is on. Okay, there we go. Yes, I'm still here. I haven't ran away, so don't leave yet. The show's not over. What that was that's just a video that we're going to release tomorrow probably, but you guys are important, you're special, so you got to see it first. Okay, so there's some more stuff on this, and I wanted to read an article, get it out on video at least, so the world can see this. There was a lot of work done from, look at that, Preach from the Housetops, Exposing High Control Religion. This is, I'll throw this on the screen for you guys to see. This is what I'm looking at. Preach from the Housetops, Exposing. That's about us. I thought there was a website called, I thought there was one of the activists are called Preach from the Housetops. So this is actually a thing. It's looks like some biblical stuff. Someone knows a bit about something. I'm going to go back. This is what this article is about. It was run at the Vartland. The Vartland ran it, January 19th, 2024. Here's a little bigger for you. The case of Jehovah's Witnesses is a good example of the paradigm shift that the Religious Communities Act has undergone. So this case is really making an impression on the world. To me, it's really opening up a can of maggots for Jehovah's Witnesses, not for the world. The world's opening this can that they think is a religion, and they're finding it has some issues. So before the religious communities were allowed to govern themselves, today the protection of an individual is much stronger. So let's reread that. The case of Jehovah's Witnesses is a good example of the paradigm shift that the Religious Communities Act has undergone. Before, the religious communities were allowed to govern themselves. Today, the protection of the individual is much stronger. So religions had more power before. Now it goes on to say that's the Risdale lawyer. That's their lawyer right there. That's, I think, a Jehovah's Witness lawyer. Risdale, they hired him. I don't think he's a JW. 650 US an hour. Matt Haverstick, they hire, is the Catholic diocese lawyer in Pennsylvania. He's more like in the thousands per hour. He's really expensive. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses have filed a lawsuit against the state after they were stripped of their registration as a religious community, and thus also their state subsidy. The lawsuit is a good example of the paradigm shift in the Religious Communities Act, the chronicler believes. The picture shows board members of Jehovah's Witnesses, Ker Satah, in court, and the pending court case between Jehovah's Witnesses and the state raises fundamental questions about the relationship between religious freedom on the one hand and the individual rights on the other hand. The balance point between these has changed considerably through the Religious Communities Act of 2020. So you see, folks, Jehovah's Witnesses have been winning all over the world prior, but now things are changing. There's this act, and it says, which is due to a conscious choice of direction by our elected representatives. And the importance of democracy is nevertheless almost overlooked in the public debate of the last few days. Legal developments over the past 50 years show that the majority has now adopted to a completely new regulation of religious communities in Norway, which gives individual rights far stronger protection than before. 50 years ago, religious communities could govern themselves or can govern themselves. Gotta wet my tongue here. Okay. And while I'm stopping here, okay, thanks to Constantine, became a YouTube member. I think I got all the other ones. There. Norway got its first law on religious communities in 1969, and it was in force until it was replaced by the 2020 law. The 1969 Act established a system of state support for religious communities. At the same time, the law contained few and vague requirements. It established that the right or righteousness and the morality must not be violated, but these were requirements that had little meaning in practice. Under the 1969 Act, religious communities could thus both receive state support and have great freedom to decide how their own business was run. So that lady there, I guess that's Vicky Blaker Strand, a professor at the Department of Public Law at the University of Oslo. So thanks a lot to Vicky for helping push this forward. And it says here, however, questions about the rights of individuals within religious communities have been an ever-recurring theme. This was clearly expressed when the first law on gender equality, that was the Equality Act of 1978, was passed. And the law applied to all areas of society, but with one limitation: it did not apply to the internal affairs in religious communities, which gave religious freedom priority over women's individual protection. But after this, both society and the law have developed further. 25 years ago, individual protection comes into play. From the year 2000 onward, the scope of individual rights accelerated. This was closely related to the internationalization of the Norwegian law. The human rights provisions on the individual protection were central. Among other things, both the UN Convention on Rights of the Child and the UN Convention on Discrimination Against Women were made part of the Norwegian law. The EU and the EEA laws, rules on anti-discrimination, were also of great importance. These were central when, from 2005, the Storting passed new laws which provided discrimination protection for new groups. So it says here, in quotes, the difference to the 1969 regulation is thus large. In reality, we are talking about a paradigm shift. So it goes on to say neither the Human Rights Convention nor the EU or the EEA directives contain special exceptions for religious communities. This meant that Equality Act's exception for internal relations in religious communities came under pressure and was repealed in 2010. As a result, religious communities were no longer an area of exception. They had to comply with the rules on discrimination in the same way as all other actors. So, folks, this really goes to show this was an ongoing thing in Norway. And Jehovah's Witnesses are making it look like they're all of a sudden being attacked and they're victims and look at us. But this isn't the case. This here shows the procession. And this was slowly, laws were being changed and being refined. And folks, I think this is just a start. This is going to happen all over the world. Look at Japan. Look what's going on in Spain. Look what's going on in Pennsylvania and Canada and Quebec. There's a class action lawsuit. We don't talk about it much. It's not really doing much right now. But we hope Canada gets going a little harder. Now, as these things happen, Norway finishes its course, Europe, we find that a lot of trends and stuff start in Europe, always have. And then they sneak across the ship and come over to the North America. And pretty soon, you know, we're wearing those hippie clothes that they wore in 1969. That's the only example I have. My dad used to say, yeah, those hippie stuff came from the Beatles in Europe and blah, blah, blah. And then we're wearing the bell bottoms, you know. Elvis came in, it was okay. He was American. Okay. Now, I got a way off track. Where am I? Okay, we're talking about all these laws are changing, the Equality Acts are changing, and this means that religions have to change. So let's carry on, see what happened. This meant the Equality Act exception, internal relations in religious communities came under pressure. It was repealed in 2010. And as a result, religious communities were no longer an area of exception. They had to comply with rules on discrimination in the same way as all other actors. That's really what they are, as actors, these religions. And more concretely, this means that religious practice in itself was not enough to be able to justify any activity in a way that made it legal. The practice of religion instead had to be weighed against affected individuals' rights. Absolutely. And there are many examples of such balancing of rights within the freedom of religion on one hand and the individual protection on the other hand. Example, in cases from the European Court of Human Rights, the strengthening of individual protection thus led to a change that narrowed the freedom of religious communities. And freedom of religion was still a fundamental human right, but it could no longer be seen separately from other fundamental human rights, such as the rights of children and women or the right of individuals to private and family life. So there's so many fundamentals that are being broken right now in the Jehovah's Witness religion. It's scary. The intolerance, the hatred toward other religions, the hatred toward governments, toward everything out there. Everything's Satan's wicked system. It seems like if you were to do a word search in their volumes, I'm sure Satan's wicked system will win, probably, or it'll come close with Jehovah, which Jehovah just equals watchtower. But love, not so much. The word love, or a derivative of the word love, not so much in there. Not that I've seen. So, anyways, Religious Communities Act 2020, individual protection as a limit. The purpose of the Faith Communities Act 2020 is to support faith and belief communities. And at the same time, it relates to the fact that individual protection is strengthened by this being drawn directly into the law. So this appears, among other things, in Section 1 on the right to withdraw state aid. Here it states that the state grants can be refused or curtailed if a religious community exercises violence or coercion, makes threats, violates children's rights, violates statutory prohibitions on discrimination, or in other ways seriously violates the rights and freedoms of others. And that's if you're shunned or disfellowshipped, your rights to associate with your family are seriously violated. And if you really want to argue the Bible, open up the 10 Commandments, honor your father, your mother. If you're a child within the organization, how can you honor your father, your mother if you don't associate with them, if you don't go for a family meal, if you don't answer a phone call, if you don't go fishing with your dad, if you don't sit down and make a pie with your mom? How do you honor your parents? Tell me that. Then we both can learn something. But you see, if you go to the Jehovah's Witness bound volumes, if you go to their website and plug in, are we under the 10 Commandments? And I've done this on so many videos. It comes up and it says no, period. Short answer, it says no. Then it gives all these reasons why. Well, we're not under the law, we're not under the old commands, but yet they dig up all those old commands in Genesis and Leviticus to stop people from living when it comes regarding blood. You see, Jehovah's Witness, the organization, I'm not going to blame the people, it's the leaders. The leaders are famous for cherry picking scriptures here and there and just trust us. We get this stuff from God. We're the faithful slave. We make mistakes. We're infallible. We don't get it right, but believe in us. Believe in us anyways, because we're it. That's what they're saying. But people aren't buying that no more. It's too much of a circus show. It's too much of an illusion, trickery. You might as well go to Vegas and pay $100 and go see a show. At least when you walk out, you know it was an illusion. It was a trick. You see, when you go into a kingdom hall, you don't know it's an illusion. You know, young children, they don't understand that this is all trickery, that these are all painted images of something that's not real. And it's designed to recruit members and hold members within the compounds or confinements of the religion out of fear, anxiety. It keeps them in. They're just waiting for new light. Every year, they're waiting for the annual meeting to see if there's any new light. Waiting. We'll wait one more year. That's close, kids. They said any day now. It's close, kids. Let's just wait. You see what that does to the children's minds? It's destructive. They live in fear, and they call this complexed post-traumatic stress because when you do that to children and they're growing up with it, it takes a lot to get it out. So imagine all the Jehovah's Witness within the religion. It's not their fault. It's the programming, the trance. Okay. Now, the states are getting smart. They're saying, yeah, we're withdrawing aid. So this appears, among other things, on the right to withdraw state aid. That's all it is. You know, why is a taxpayer going to support this kind of a religion? Why? So here it is. The state's grants can be refused or curtailed if the community exercises violence, coercion, makes threats, violates children's rights. You know, stopping a child from getting a blood transfusion is a violation. Well, there's so many violations. Bringing a child to the assembly where they have all the machine guns going on, like last summer, and all the machine guns, that whole drama thing, that is child abuse. Japan calls that child abuse. The rest of the world does too. You know, where do we start? Where do we stop? They give talks on sexual talks in the congregation that are adult contact, and you have toddlers and little kids in there listening. They're being called out. Jehovah's Witnesses are being called out by the world. Okay, let's carry on. Discrimination violates statutory prohibitions on discrimination. Well, they discriminate left and right. We just played the video at the beginning on how they view us. I haven't done anything wrong. I just spoke out with what I don't agree with. That's it. Is that wrong? Did I deserve what Tony Morris said in the talk at the outset, amongst thousands of others of us out there, among you guys that are online? It's not fair. You see, that's The world's looking at this stuff, and the world says this is a cult. We're not gonna grant it money. That's all we're gonna do. We're just gonna take the money away. Number 2 states that the breach of Section 6 can be led to the withdrawal of registration as a religious community, which has consequence, among other things, that the right to marry is lost.
They can still be a religion.
Oh yeah, they can be a religion. They can go out door to door. They can have cart witnessing. They can go to the kingdom halls. I would hope they would have to pay taxes, though. I haven't seen that on the property. I hope they get taxed on the property, because why should a non-charity have tax benefits on the land? You know, in Canada, if you hold a piece of property, you have to pay taxes on that property every year, and the taxes will depend if there's power. So if the community is providing power, if the community is providing fire service, if the community is providing water hookup, all of these things, depending, is going to depend what your tax bill is, and all these kingdom halls should be taxed, my opinion. Now, probably Norway's not that rigid. They're going to just take away the charity money and say, yeah, we'll let you sit there and do your religious thing. Because they said they're not going to take it all away. They're going to, you know, whatever they wish, whatever's in the rule book. You know, maybe if you don't pass the driver's test, you have a learner's for the rest of your life. Maybe the Jehovah's Witnesses becomes like a learner religion. They're still trying to be a real religion. They're working on it. Every year they're working on it. This year they got rid of beards. Oh, don't have to count time this year. Next year, okay, we're working. We want to be a real religion. We're working on it. Maybe next year we'll quit shunning. Maybe this year we should. Oh, those apostates are giving us a lot of pressure. Evil apostates. Shun no more 2024. You hear all those things going around now. Anyways, by including individual rights, the 2020 Act draws up boundaries for the kind of activity that can take place in religious communities that receive state support. And the changes are accompanied by the strengthened structured for supervision and control, and faith and belief communities have an obligation to report on their own activities in a more detailed manner than before. So when it comes to child problems, child abuse, they have to report. They have to go to the police right away. And the difference to the 1969 regulations is thus large. In reality, we are talking about a paradigm shift. And the consequences of the paradigm shift. The administration of the Religious Communities Act in 2020 has been added to 2 state administrators, Agder and Oslo and Viken. We are now seeing more and more examples of the supervisory authorities using new rules. The case of Jehovah's Witnesses is an example. Another is the decision that Menenten Stamfundent will lose the state grant for 2023. Is that another group? Right here. That could be another group. Let me just look at that. Well, the community, Norwegian, is a Christian denomination with historical and theological roots in the Lutheran tradition. So it's another group. It's another religion they're looking at. Get back to my article. No, there we are. So this is another religion that it looks like they're going to look at next year. So the rules are new, and the changes are big. It is therefore not surprising that there is disagreement about implementation. I want to go back to this. I bet you Jehovah's Witnesses, they're lobbying that law. Ben Elders. He's the new Freedom of Religion. He's the manager, you know, the tradesman that's the manager. Well, I bet you he's lobbying with these guys. They're all putting their money together to fight this case in Norway. I bet you. I bet you Jehovah's Witnesses are going out lobbying. You talk about lobbying, you talk about going to Babylon the Great for support. I bet you that's happening. He kind of said it. If you listen to Ben Elder's talk, he kind of said that he's going out to all of Europe and different groups they're members of. It's all big business, folks. And the religions want the cake and the icing. Now, the rules are new and the changes are big. It is therefore not surprising that there is disagreement about implementation. However, the overall perspective must not be lost sight of, the overall perspective. The 2020 regulations are based on the conscious choice by our elected representatives. The law's content is linked to a long legal development where religious communities have gradually had to adapt to a new legal situation as a result of the introduction of individual rights. And folks, this is what we're fighting for all over the world, right here in a nutshell. Individual rights, human rights. You see, prior to this, religions could beat human rights, freedom of religion, and no one was opening the can. But as soon as they start opening the can, they opened the can with the Catholic Church. They found out this clergy penitent privilege is just maggots. It's just maggots all over. But the Catholic Church had to change. And the Pope went around and apologized. And there's payouts. Dioceses are going broke, shutting down. 2 dioceses in Pennsylvania went broke and shut down. Catholic Church because, and the paper said, because of CSA payouts. So it's coming. Human rights are coming, and we have to fight for them. And if you don't know, I talk about a lot, but we do have at the bottom of our descriptions of every video, there's a link to the Canadian petition. If you're Canadian and you can sign the petition, thank you very much in advance. Okay, the way I see it today from human rights perspective, it would be demanding to maintain a system of active financial support for religious communities without the development of law with regard to the rights of the individuals being taken into its account. And the 2020 Act expresses precisely this. Protection of individual rights is no longer something that can be defined apart from the activities of religious communities. Privacy also applies here. End of article. So that was an excellent article regarding the Religious Communities Act. And yeah, that brought us to an hour on the show. I don't know if we're going to go too much longer. We're going to look at a few of the comments here, though. And there's a lot going on with Norway. So this is spelling out a precedent. Canada, you know, we keep pushing as activists. We band together. There's other groups too. Humanists, the humanist groups. They'll help us activists on this side, and we can get some support at their end. And it's something to investigate. I actually made a few videos on the humanists and what their beliefs are. And it's not that they're a religion or anything, but they are kind of a membership group. I'm not part of anything. I'm not part of nothing. I'm just here fixing my faith. So, okay, so let's look at our comments. I'm going to go way up to see Rusty. Okay, I see you. Thank you very much. I see you. You gifted 5 Fixing My Faith memberships. Okay, you really help us out a lot on the channel. I see you. There you are. No, there. Yeah, you guys are all over the place. You're all over the website. I don't have the time to get through all the comments, quite honestly. My good wife does most of it. I'm working on videos and stuff like that, and it's only so many hours in a day. Sometimes you got to go for a walk with the dog too, and get out of the house. But it all works. So when we have ones like yourselves, and I've seen this, I'm looking down the comments, and I go, "Holy smokes! Look at what that guy said." And my good wife says, calm down, calm down. ICU hasn't got to him yet. Or Beverly Harward, or I don't know some of the names out there, but you guys do a good job. You really do a good job. And you get in there and there's a lot of people waking up. And I was angry too when I woke up, and that guy's saying that's not right. They don't say that. Anthony Morris, that's all fake. That's fake stuff. Anthony Morris never said that, or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe they'll start saying the court in Norway was fake. That's why we're playing the whole videos, Norwegian, and then they'll have subtitles. They'll be all on the website, all under a playlist eventually here when we can get the captions in. And that's important because all over the world, anybody waking up out of this religion can see it. They can see the lies. Like it's like the Australian Commission all over again. Ben Elder got up there and he just went on for a whole half hour lying. And it was fabulous because now it's easy. Like our job is so easy. We just have to play his video. It's like Anthony Morris. I think they had to get rid of him because he made our job so easy. All we got to do is play his video, and we just show the world this is what they say, and the world looks at this and says that's not right. So eventually, the world has to open that can up, and now they see it's full of maggots, and that's what we're going to end up with on this show. So that's what the show is about: opening the can of maggots up. Now, I'm just seeing if there's anybody new online before we end the show. I don't think so. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. We had a lot of people online tonight, 119 I'm looking at right now. I think it's always was above 100. Love always wins. Thank you for being on with us. Love always wins. I don't think I showed you guys. We got a question. What do you think? JW Watchtower here, every stop shunning. Oh, will they stop shunning? Oh yeah, they have to. I think it's going to happen this year. That's the year's text, shun no more 2024. You see, they are right. The apostates have a lot of a power in a sense, because we're living in the time that everything that is hidden will be revealed. We all know that's a scripture, right? So we're living in that time. The internet does it. No one's paying us to do this, except YouTube, maybe a little bit, not much. But that's just kind of how it is. Everything's coming out. There's no organization. It's not like we go to sleep at night and the devil talks to us. It's nothing like that. It's just we've lived in this religion and we know what's right. And we probably fought it all along in the religion. I fought it. The more we talk about it, the more I realize I was trying to wake up all along. I was fighting this. Tonight we were talking about how I fathered my kids. My kids had worldly friends. I said, just don't tell anybody. Keep it quiet. That's what I would tell them. Isn't that what a good JW dad would say? Pioneer, reaching out to be a ministerial servant. No, that's not how they work, right? But I didn't really play by the rules, and I realized why. I needed to be in there to do what I'm doing now. And I think this is really what I was preparing for, is to help people come out. This is a huge religion, and there's going to be a lot of casualties coming out. Now, here's our Discord link. It's a little community. I just learned how these all work, but these Discord things have been around for 10 years. The video game people have been using them, and they form little communities and play video games and do things like that. Well, this one's designed for the XJW community. You just go in and you get approved somehow by a robot, I think by my good wife maybe. But you get into the community, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's chats, and there's you can share information, even if you're another language. You're from Japan or something. You just type it in Japan, and the little robot will put it on the JW News list. It'll show what you wanted to say right there in English. Now, does it do it backwards? I don't know. Can you see the whole thing in Japan? I don't know. It's not maps. We don't have the watchtower money. No, we're working with the YouTube does a lot of this for us. It's big. They're doing a lot now, and these other programs. So join the Discord. It's free, and it's a closed community, so you won't have to deal with trolls or identity because of the shunning. You know, identity is such a huge thing for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. And we say hello to Tammy. Didn't I say hello to Tammy? Right there. Tammy. Yes, they're getting exposed all over the world. And thank you, Tammy, for being on the channel. You do support the channel, all the channels, a lot. You're out there helping, and that's just great. And thank you, ICU. Yeah, the precedent that we're setting is good. We have to get a precedent. Norway's setting that precedent. A lot of times Europe does that for us over here. And but the watchtower, they kind of have to be in unity somehow. There we go. Hippie clothes. Yeah, the bell bottoms. Remember that? Okay. I'm going all the way down. I guess I was way up there with the notes. Okay, here's one. It's only a matter of time before shunning is confronted worldwide by the UN. I agree. I think that's why I think this is like opening a can of worms. JWs went in, they went at this hard, sue. They threw $500,000 into this particular ending. What's going to happen? I think they're not done. I think, here's my supposition. It's going to come out in 4 weeks, but this is just a theory. I think they're going to lose. I think Norway, they're following their procedures. There's enough proof there that all over the world, there's enough proof if they can look at it. But it looks like they need case law. So the problem with this community is everyone's afraid of shunning. So everyone's afraid to go to court. Everyone's afraid to make case law. Everyone's afraid to go to family child counseling. So it all has to start somewhere. If it's happening in Norway, it's going to start there. But then what I think is they're going to appeal it somehow to the European Union, somehow to that child, they call it a child convention, the convention. That's how they label it. So they're going to try to appeal it under freedom of religion, and they're appealing it under the fact that we're a charity all over the world. Why just Norway? That's what we're victims in Norway. Norway's like Russia. They already said that in court. They compared Norway to Russia, and that wasn't fair. But they did that. That's how they do it in court. But folks, that brings our program to an end. Thank you very much for being online with us and following through with us. And we'll keep the news coming. So folks, until next time, keep living your day with love. Bye for now.